Hello, amazing parents and caretakers, and welcome to the Pumped Up Parenting Podcast. I'm your family empowerment coach, Celia Kibler. I'm a mom of a blended family of 5 kids. I'm a grandma of 9 kids, an author, a teacher, a speaker, and a consultant with over 40 years of training and real-life parenting experience. I'm here to offer you practical, doable tips, strategies, and techniques that will pump up your parenting skills and create peace, love, and laughter throughout your family. In addition, I'll be interviewing some great humans that are on a mission to make your life a better, happier, and healthier life. So let's not waste any time and get started with the next episode of the Pumped Up Parenting Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the International Day of Calm Summit.
Hi, Stefanie. Oh, we can't hear you. You're muted. Demute.
I'm unmuted now. Sorry, I didn't know.
There you are. That's all right. That's all right. So excited to have you here. And before you start your wonderful talk, which I know is going to be so helpful and informative, it always is, I want to tell our guests a little bit about you. So this is Stefanie Adler. She is a certified nutrition consultant, functional diagnostic nutritionist, and women's hormone and fertility expert. Stefanie is also the host of the Wisdom of the Womb podcast and has been featured in publications like the New York Post for her science-backed nutrition advice. As a passionate advocate for women's health and wellness, Stefanie is not afraid to go against the grain and challenge mainstream beliefs about what's possible for her clients. Her mission is simple yet powerful: to inspire women to work with their bodies to unlock their innate wisdom, heal naturally, and break away from the limiting narratives of conventional medicine. Through her private nutrition coaching and course, Stefanie has transformed the lives of hundreds of clients worldwide across all stages of life. She's an expert at helping women overcome chronic conditions like gut issues, hormonal imbalances, unexplained infertility, and more. Stefanie takes an individualized approach, utilizing functional lab testing, cycle-based solutions, and encourages clients to trust their own bodies, allowing them to finally live the vibrant and beautiful lives they've been dreaming of. Stefanie is an open book, ready to share her unique takes on how women can address health concerns at the root and take control of their wellness, even when they've exhausted their conventional options. Stefanie, glad to have you here. Men that are listening, take heed because you might learn something you need to know.
Thank you, Celia. Yeah, and for any male listeners right now, I mean, the topic I'm going to be talking to today is for all humans. So regardless of your sex. So yeah, stay tuned. But hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I know it's the day of calm, and I want to bring in a little bit of life. And so everyone, if you just want to shake it out, we're going to move our bodies a little bit and just get a little loose and smile really big because it's going to make you happy. And let's talk about mineral magic. So I was thinking about this talk and I was thinking, well, what do I want to share? Because you know what? There are so many things that impact our ability to show up as the parents we want to be on a biological function. I'm not talking about the stressors of day-to-day life and the way that, we respond to those stressors. I'm talking about what is happening inside our bodies. So we have the microbiome in our gut. And there's a lot more research about this. Maybe this is something you've heard about before, but we have approximately like 3 pounds of bacteria that live in our gut. Imagine like a 3 pound weight. We have about 3 pounds of bacteria that live in our gut that use this as a host for and can help influence and control everything from our mental health, our mood, to our immune system, to our metabolism, all of which then impacts the way that we show up in the world and therefore parent. So I had that idea. And then I had, well, there's blood sugar balance, right? I grew up in a home with a lot of yelling. And as an adult, I can actually see that my mom really struggled with blood sugar stability. She has been diagnosed with diabetes in more recent years. And like I know how that impacts our mood and therefore makes us a little bit more irritable and explosive. So I was like, well, I could go there. But then I realized there's one thing that every single system in the body depends on, and that every biological function that could possibly impact the way that we show up as parents is in minerals. So we had to go with minerals for our talk today. So what I'm going to be telling you about is mineral magic and how we can start harnessing the power of minerals to stabilize our mood, increase our energy, and therefore our capacity to be present as parents and calm and patient and all of the things that we deeply desire to be to show up for our children. So really brief introduction again. Thanks for that awesome intro, Celia, but just like a little bit, hi, who am I to be qualified to tell you these things? My name is Stefanie Adler. I am a functional diagnostic nutritionist, and along working with people who want to become pregnant, I love helping parents. I had my own child about 2 years ago, and having an incredible postpartum experience, feeling like I had the energy and the patience to do the things I wanted to do, has totally transformed my work into wanting to support more parents. And I want to start by telling you a quick story. So, probably like 4 months ago at this point, I was on a call with a client. And she had been doing a lot of the mineral balancing work and the gut healing and all these things that we were talking about. And she said to me, you know, I had the coolest moment the other day. She has 3 kids. She's also the CFO of a big company that, is a household name. And so I has a lot of stress. And she said to me, I had this really cool moment the other day. I was almost like an out of body experience. I saw my kid, like my kids were doing something that normally would have really triggered me and I would have yelled at them. I would have snapped at them, but I didn't. I was just able to like maintain calm in the moment and be really present with them. And I'm totally seeing how this is changing the way that I parent. And I was just sitting there like bawling because yes, it's about having more energy. It's about, not having a painful period if that's something, that you struggle with. It's about not having gut issues, but really it's about what does that do for your life? So I want to encourage everyone who's here today to take one thing that they hope that they can bring to their parenting practice and like sit with that. And let's see if the things that we're going to talk about today are going to be able to create that in abundance for you. So why do minerals matter? If anyone is in the chat, like wants to put in the chat, like, what is a mineral? Do you know what a mineral is? Like, what does that mean to you when I say, what's a mineral? Maybe it's like, a name of a mineral. Maybe you're like, I have no idea. But I'd be really curious to see what does a mineral mean to you? Now, minerals, well, yes, they are sodium, potassium, iodine, right? Like present in our soil. They are also the spark plugs of the body. Okay. So they truly like energy, mood, focus, all of these things in the body rely on minerals to basically plug in. And parents are particularly susceptible to depletion due to stress, poor sleep, and if you're the person carrying the baby, these very nutrient demanding phases like pregnancy, breastfeeding, and postpartum recovery. There is a massive mineral transfer that happens when you are pregnant to the baby. Your body basically like builds up all these reserves and then waits till you are pregnant and then passes them on to the baby. And then if you are giving birth, there's a big like output of minerals there to help you create that adrenaline and help you create that big event. And then if you breastfeed, you're continuing to nourish the baby from your body. And when we look at indigenous cultures, we'll see that the most nutrient dense foods were always reserved for pregnant postpartum moms or young children. It was known that we needed more minerals, we needed more nutrients during this season of life. Now, what does this look like for the most part? When people have a baby, they order a bunch of takeout, right? Like, how is it easy? Maybe they do a meal train and like someone brings them chicken enchiladas or something. And not that that isn't really welcome and sweet, but we really need these very nutrient dense, almost, the way I describe them is like traditional foods to nourish our bodies and to feel replenish postpartum. So today what I want to do is dive into some of the key minerals that I find are most impactful for parents. We're going to talk about magnesium, potassium, sodium, copper, and calcium, and talk about how they directly impact mood, energy, nervous system regulation. I'm going to give you some key foods to start making sure you're getting more of in your diet, and then we'll have some time for Q&A if you want to ask me specific questions. So the first one that we're going to talk about is magnesium. And this one is particularly important, especially when we're talking about the day of calm, because it is the relaxation mineral, the calming mineral. Okay. When I was in school for nutrition, I had a professor and he was like kind of joking, but not really. And he was like, 80% of the time when people come to me, I tell them to take magnesium and they never need to come back. Pretty much everyone in our culture, and when I say our culture, I mean like any sort of modern Western stressed culture, is deficient in magnesium. And this is because one, our soils are deeply deficient across the world. And two, when we are stressed out, we burn magnesium at a high rate. You can actually calculate your magnesium burn rate and figure out how much magnesium you are burning through a day. And most people, the estimates, and this is based on the recommended daily allowance, so it's not even from a functional perspective what I consider optimal, but it's estimated that 80% of people in the United States are magnesium deficient. My estimates, when I put that in within a functional range of what we really need to optimize, is over 95%. So everyone needs more magnesium. And it's like I said, it's that calming relaxation mineral. Who here has ever taken like an Epsom salt bath to either relax or to relax their muscles? Epsom salts are magnesium. So you understand the mechanism of like we try and absorb it through our body to help us relax. That's also a quick little tip. Something I do with my son regularly is we get in a magnesium bath together, and it's so relaxing. It's such a nice way to, calm down and promote better sleep and also just connect. Such a fun way to bring a little bit of extra calm to bath time. So what are the specific functions? I mean, well, there are literally over 300 systems in the body that magnesium supports. But the ones that I want to highlight today are that it regulates your nervous system, it reduces anxiety, and it improves your sleep. Can you raise your hand if having better sleep and less anxiety and a more regulated nervous system would help you be more present as a parent, right? Would help you stay calm in moments that are pressing and challenging? I don't know about you, but that's me, right? Like the better all of those things are functioning, the more I have capacity to be patient and to be calm as a parent. It also helps with irritability. It promotes your stress tolerance. So basically your stress, like your capacity for stress gets bigger, and you also have better emotional regulation. Okay. So what are some signs that maybe you don't have enough magnesium? Are you in that 95% of people that I think don't have enough magnesium? The first one is anxiety. The second can be muscle tension, restless sleep, sugar cravings. You don't have to out yourself if you don't want to, but I'm curious. Raise your hand if you're like, oh, okay, that's maybe me. And if it is, there are a couple things to do. Leg cramps, yeah, exactly. Any sort of like muscle, anything like that, absolutely. Especially like for anyone who's pregnant, like we'll see that a lot. Pregnancy requires so much magnesium, and we'll see a lot of like tension or even like getting Braxton Hicks or cramps too early in pregnancy can be a sign of magnesium deficiency. So here's the thing. I'm going to give you some foods to help replenish magnesium. But like I said, our soils are pretty depleted. So I personally take a magnesium supplement every day. Most of my clients do too. There are lots of kinds, some that help you go to the bathroom more, some that help you if you have headaches, some that are just more absorbable. I typically take a magnesium glycosinate. This is not medical advice. Obviously, consult a healthcare provider, but just to say that if you're trying to get all of your magnesium through food, it's a really hard task to do well because it's unfortunate our soils are very depleted. But if you want to try, Dark leafy greens are really helpful for getting more magnesium. Cacao and avocado are also really great. So you can make like a cacao avocado mousse and it's super yummy. But then also there's topical magnesium. As I just mentioned, we put it on, you can get it in lotions. You can even just like get little sprays. Once I went to the Dead Sea and I just like took a bunch of salts from the floor of the Dead Sea, stuffed them in water bottles and brought them home with me. And I dissolved it in water and I just would spray myself with it. But you could do that without ever having to go to the Dead Sea and just ordering Dead Sea salt flakes on Amazon. And you can also, like I said, take Epsom salt baths. There's so many ways also to get topical magnesium. And also, this is awesome for kids. I love topical magnesium for littles because, again, it's just like so calming if, especially like also constipation can be a sign of magnesium deficiency. And so sometimes if kids are not going, that makes them cranky and then we're cranky. You can, rub a little bit of topical magnesium into their belly too. So again, magnesium is the relaxation mineral, and we really, really want to make sure we have enough of it. Now, I want to move on to talking about potassium. Now, potassium kind of, I feel like is, I don't know how to describe it, like the kid no one invites to the party. Like, like they're really cool, but for some reason they're just like no one sees their benefits and so no one sees how awesome they are. And so they don't get the invite. And I will say I run hair mineral analysis tests on people. So I'm looking at people's minerals day in and day out. I have never once on a test seen someone's potassium come back even at 50% of what it should be. No one is getting enough potassium. Like I said, it's never invited to the party. And it's so important because potassium is the energy stabilizer. So whenever you like think about like that little Energizer bunny, if you've ever seen that commercial with the battery and it's like, if we want more of that energy in our life, if we want to be like, woo, okay, I show up to every space and I'm like, I light it up. We need more potassium. Okay. So how do we get more potassium? Well, you eat more. So some of my favorite foods for potassium, and I'll talk about why it's so important in a second, but now that you're all hyped up, I just want you to take notes on what you should do to get more of it. Coconut water is a great one. Bananas, potatoes with the skin, avocado, citruses. One of the things that I love, this is like my favorite parent hack, is making adrenal cocktails. Has anyone here ever heard of an adrenal cocktail? It's a mocktail. Let me be clear about that. There's no alcohol in it. You can do one at breakfast. You can do one at lunch. You can do one at dinner. You can do them any time of day because it's this really amazing cocktail. They're super yummy. Your kids will also enjoy them. They kind of taste like creamsicles. And so what you're going to do is you're going to put coconut water and some orange juice. And you could do this in the blender, or you could just do it in a cup. Mix them together. I like to add about a teaspoon of cream of tartar. So if you didn't know, cream of tartar is basically potassium. And so there's 500 milligrams in 1 teaspoon. So you can add that in. You can add in a little bit of coconut milk or a little bit of like something to just like stabilize it with some fat. And if you want to get fancy, you can put it in the blender and like make it all frothy. And it's like a creamsicle smoothie. And it's so yummy and it's so mineral rich. And you can get, depending on how much of these different ratios you're using, and you can also just look up online like adrenal cocktail recipe, you could be getting over 1,200 milligrams of potassium a day. And we're really going for about 4,000 milligrams a day. So this can get you like a quarter of the way there. And you can do this a couple times a day. They're so yummy. They're so fun. They're good to do with kids. And it's one of my favorite ways for people to get more potassium. And it's really great for parents in those moments where you're like, oh, I kind of feel like I need like a little pick me up, but it's really nourishing for your adrenals and it's going to support your energy and your stress capacity. So when we have enough potassium, it prevents energy crashes, brain fog, mood swings. Again, would that make you a better parent? Right? Yeah. Potassium is so critical for cellular energy. Literally every cell in your body needs potassium to show up and function, right? A lot of times I'll see people who are struggling with thyroid health and they don't have enough potassium, and your potassium is what fuels and allows thyroid hormone to get in and out of the cell. So a lot of times, again, thinking about like sluggishness, feeling just like we don't have the energy to do what we want to do. Again, I talked about my upbringing. My mom had thyroid issues, and I remember she always had to take a nap like every day. And it was so hard because we'd want to go out and play and be with her and do things. And she was always really sleepy. And I know as a parent that like the more energy I have, the better I'm able to show up because it's a lot of work parenting these little kids, And so the more energy I have, the more I feel like I have to give. So I really love when people focus on potassium for that cellular energy, adrenal function, blood sugar balance, all the things. Okay. So make your adrenal cocktails and start to feel the benefits of the potassium. The next, the next mineral I want to talk about gets a bad rep. Okay. They are like the kid who everyone's parents is like, yeah, like I heard that they, got kicked out of school and they got suspended. And like, I don't want my kid hanging out with their kid. But it's all wrong. It's all based on, it's all like libel and slander. And it was based on lies. And it's sodium. Okay. Sodium, sodium, sodium. I could pull for hours articles online about why sodium is bad for you. And I could edit them to say, chemical sodium is bad for your heart. Real sodium, okay? And we're going to talk about the difference. Real salt is critical for life. There were literally wars fought over salt in history. It is amazing to me how we have allowed diet dictocrats to tell us that salt is bad for us while they pump foods that they sell you that tell you are good for you that are not with fake salt that is bad for you and tell you real salt isn't good for you. I mean, that could be another talk for another day. Anyways, sodium is so important. So I want you to think about what kind of salt you have in your home. If it is called Morton's table salt, or if it is any sort of processed salt, if it says with iodine added, I want you to go over to your cupboard, take it, walk over to your trash can, toss it away, go out and get some real salt. Now, there's a couple brands that are like, I can say their brand names if you need that, but it's really about, does it have color? Does it have texture? A real sea salt should have like a little bit of like almost wetness or something to it, a little bit of color, maybe gray, maybe almost a little blue, maybe pink. If it's a Himalayan pink salt, Redmond's real salt. And all of that is the minerals. All of that is the trace minerals. What happens when you're buying chemically processed salt is they pull all of the minerals out of it. They sell it to a supplement company and then they add iodine back in because they have to. And they add also a few other chemicals to make it more shelf stable. And then they give it to you. Like it's not real. We want real salt. So if you're eating good real salt, approximately 1 to 2 teaspoons a day is like a sweet spot for most people. If you're already pretty deficient, sometimes you need more. Just start paying attention to how much salt you have. When I tell people 1 to 2 teaspoons a day and they actually start paying attention to how much salt, it's like, okay, maybe an eighth of a teaspoon on my eggs in the morning. Maybe I cooked some soup for dinner and I put a teaspoon in the whole pot, but that fed all four of us, right? So that's only a quarter teaspoon. And when they start adding it up throughout the day, it's like, ooh, okay, I'm definitely actually not getting that much. So what I recommend doing is actually starting to put the salt on the table and add salt to your food after it's already been cooked. Like continue to salt it and slowly, even over just a few days, your taste buds are going to start to change. And then if you don't start adding it more on the table and you eat it plain, you're going to be like, oh, this needs salt. Your body will quickly adapt to it. And salt is, like I said, it is literally critical for everything in life. And the way I want you to think about it is the adrenal supporter. So our adrenals control our stress hormones. Okay. This is where adrenaline is made. This is where cortisol is made. It's also where the precursors to reproductive hormones like DHEA are made. And when we have enough sodium and our adrenals are more regulated, it helps us regulate those stress hormones. It helps us regulate our blood pressure. It helps us regulate hydration. Sometimes when we don't have enough salt, we can notice like we'll feel dehydrated, maybe exhausted or tired. Maybe we're even craving salt. Our bodies, like if you're someone who's like, oh yeah, like I totally crave potato chips, that's also a sign that you don't have enough. Your body will crave what it needs. Sometimes people will even feel like dizzy when standing, but mostly I just see fatigue. If you are feeling tired, a lot of times it's not getting enough sodium. And so it's really important to get, like I said, good quality Himalayan salt, pink salt, Redmond's real salt, something like that, Celtic sea salt, Baja Gold sea salt, etc. And even like Trader Joe's has real salt. They have a bunch of fake salts, and then they have, the real one that comes in the little crock with the uh, cork top. Okay, so you just got to look. It's everywhere. Um, and a quick, bone broth, like meat stocks, olives, fermented foods, all of these things are used with salt. So that's another way to get them in upon, other than just salting your food. And also another little way, a little tip is salting your water. So when you drink water throughout the day, just add like literally a little pinch, an eighth of a teaspoon or something to your water. And you'll notice that you feel more hydrated actually than if you were just drinking water alone. So get your salt. All the things that have been shared about it are lies. It matters what kind of salt quite a bit. Okay. I want to briefly talk about two more minerals. And then I can kind of give you an example of what a day in the life looks like and answer some questions. So I know I'm coming up on time. I'm going to be fast. So the first one is copper. Who here has like ever even thought that you have copper in your body? Like, I feel like most people are just like, oh yeah, that's the cup like a Moscow mule comes in. Like, I don't know anything else other than about that about copper. Or maybe like I know someone had copper pipes stolen from a construction site once, right? Like, I feel like most people don't know what copper is. The copper is the mood and iron regulator. Okay. It's really essential for energy production, dopamine regulation, and your iron metabolism, which really plays a role in energy. And it works really well with vitamin A to prevent burnout and brain fog. And so when we don't have enough, we'll have things like brain fog and other like mental health disorders sometimes can even be presented as like whether that's anxiety, depression, or even going further into like bipolar disease, things like that can be a copper imbalance. And so if we have an imbalance of copper, it can be fatigue, low motivation, hormone imbalances, all of these things. And the thing about copper is it's like Goldilocks. You don't want too much, you don't want not enough, you just want the right amount. And the key to having the right amount is actually not in copper, it's in vitamin A. So it's a little bit of a trick there. And most people don't get enough of vitamin A because you want to know what vitamin A is most present in? Liver. I had to put that in the chat myself because I get so excited about liver. Liver. It is like the most important food you could ever eat in your entire life, and no one is eating it anymore. If you go back, I bet you your grandparents ate liver several times a month, like it was something that would just everyone ate. It was more common. In indigenous communities, again, it is prioritized for preconception, postpartum, children, even lions. If you look at lions in nature, so what happens is the women lion go hunt and then the men lion come eat. I'm not saying I promote this part, but the men lion come eat. And you want to know what the male lions eat? They eat the organ meats because they know that they're the most nutrient dense. And then they leave the muscle meat for everyone else. But nowadays in our modern environment, we've suddenly decided that the muscle meats are for everyone, are like the best parts, and then the organ meats just get thrown away. Go to your butcher, get some liver. It is going to be the biggest thing to help you get, sorry, I have something in my eye. It's going to be the biggest thing to help you get more copper and vitamin A to help it move and groove and do all the things it's supposed to do. So beef liver, other sources of this, if you're like, God, I could never eat liver. Shellfish is a really great source of copper, but not necessarily vitamin A. And then dairy it's a decent source if the cows are coming from happy cows is a good source of vitamin A, particularly like raw cheese, things like that. And so I know I'm getting close to time, but I just get so excited. So I want to talk about one more thing, calcium. Okay. Calcium, most people just think about calcium as like, oh, there's calcium in my milk. So calcium is really important. And the thing that I wanted to share about calcium is really almost like a call to action. So I can always tell. So I mentioned I do these hair mineral analysis tests where I'm looking at people's tissue mineral through their hair. And I can always tell when I'm going to have someone who's going to come back with what I call a calcium shell. And it's because they seem to be very stressed out about kind of average things. Do you know this person or are you this person where you're just like, if one more thing happens, like I'm not going to be able to handle it. Or, like the teller at the bank is like talking to this guy for too long and it just super stresses you out, or just like kind of like everyday stuff. It's like pushes you over the edge. And a lot of times these people will have what's called a calcium shell. And that means that their body, due to either a traumatic experience or stress, is pulling calcium out of the bone and putting it in the soft tissue and basically creating like a calcified shell around the cell. And then because of that, the cell can't get nutrients in and out. And I find that I see this a lot in parents. A lot of times it happens to moms after a traumatic birth experience and that hasn't been resolved. It can also just happen if you're like really stressed out. So I wanted to just like share that as a offering of like, if you're like, oh, I recognize myself in that, please reach out to me because it's such an amazing way. What we do is we use vitamin K2, which is found in things like butter and fermented foods, to make sure that we break it up. But depending on how high that calcium shell is, sometimes we need to do a little bit more. So those are the minerals that I really want you to be thinking about when it comes to stress management. Celia, I know I technically had until 9:30. Do I need to go or do I have like one more minute? I'm fine if you tell me I'm done.
You don't need to go. You
Okay.
can have one more minute.
I just want to be respectful of the time.
We're
Okay,
going to fix some liver and then
great.
we're going to eat a little liver and you keep talking.
I've got pate in my fridge. We'll just like come bring it out with
That's
some
all right.
apple
But
slices.
us Jewish people, we love chopped liver.
We do.
So chop your liver and add eggs, and it tastes much better.
It really does. And just like a reminder, like I think a lot of people are like, oh, my kids would never eat that. Like kids are actually the most important for it. And what we do with our pate is we actually roll it into these like little balls for my son. And we make these like little liver balls and he has fun like eating them. And so there's lots of like creative ways to get it in. You can mix it in with meatballs or meatloaf, things like that.
Who doesn't love a good liver ball?
Yeah. That's the highlight of this talk. Who doesn't love a good liver bowl? So basically, I just wanted to like give you a highlight reel of like, well, okay, what does this look like day to day? Okay. So we really want to think about things like how do we help replenish and maintain these foods, these mineral levels. So the first one is we rebuild with food. Okay. Having daily mineral rich snack meals and snacks. Here, I'm going to give you some ideas. So the first one is like in the morning, having eggs with avocado and some fresh juice and some really mineral rich salt. For lunch, it's like protein with root vegetables and fermented veggies. When we eat ferments, a reminder, fermented foods are not optional. Our bodies evolved with them over thousands of years. We need them. It also makes the nutrients and the minerals more available. In the afternoon, you could have something like coconut water and kefir and bee pollen as a little smoothie kind of snack. In the evening, maybe you're having some grass-fed meat or liver or shellfish and roasted potatoes and greens. If you eat mostly whole foods and focus on nutrient dense ones, you're going to be in a really good place. And then we really want to think about those beverages. So water isn't enough. We need those electrolytes, adding salt to our water, getting some cream of tartar and potassium. Maybe having, those adrenal cocktails, the orange juice, the coconut water, the sea salt, adding in some of those fun things. Maybe making meat stock or bone broth as a daily staple in your house because it's so mineral rich. And just remember that mineral loss happens through stress. So the nervous system support is key. It's a little bit of like the chicken and the egg. The minerals support the nervous system, and the nervous system support your mineral levels. So this is why I thought it was so relevant to bring this in for the day of calm. And just really thinking again about that magnesium specifically for better sleep, for better nervous system regulation, breath work, Epsom salt baths, sun exposure will help you get more use out of your minerals, all the things. So these simple shifts in your diet and hydration can make a huge difference in how you feel. And I really know, because I see it daily, that prioritizing minerals is an act of self-care that benefits your entire family. It's trickle down wellness, okay? Start with yourself and let it trickle down to your kids and the rest of your family. So I'm curious, like, which of these minerals do you think you need the most right now? Send it to me in the chat. I'm really curious. And then what is your one mineral upgrade you're going to do today? Are you going to go get new sea salt? Are you going to make an adrenal cocktail? Are you going to like look up some potassium rich foods and make sure you're getting more of them? I'm really curious to know. And if you want to go deeper on this, send me a message. Okay. Like helping parents totally transform their parenting experience on a cellular level by helping their minerals be more balanced so they can show up in the world as like this, there's no such thing as a perfect parent, but a more present parent and a more patient parent. Hit me up.
And a more calm parent and a more calm human. So, like, this is not just if you're not a parent, you can see through this examination of the minerals you need and that you don't get, how it changes your personality and your mood. I mean, it's crazy because it's like so simple. It seems simple, you know, that with just a change of diet and not even like changing your diet, but changing what's going into you. And it's something to think about for your kids
Yeah.
because their diet affects their moods, their behaviors, all these things. So it is like vitally important. I have a book called, it's somewhere. Oh, it's up there. It's up there. Special Diets for Special Kids. And that's because so many of the problems that a lot of kids that have challenges, the problems that they have too many have a lot to do with what they're eating or what they're not eating. And so, you know, that's something to consider in your parenting is what are you missing and what are they missing? What's your favorite thing that your kids like, Stefanie?
Like my favorite thing for their nutrition or like my favorite thing
Yeah,
about
like what
the
they actually like of the things that you said, like the little drinkies, what'd you call them? Little
adrenal
drink,
cocktails.
yeah, little
Yeah.
cocktails, mocktails.
Yeah, I actually don't. I mean, your kids will love those. My son is 2, and so I'm really mindful about his sugar intake, and those are awesome, but they're a little bit sugary. And since he's not, so he actually doesn't drink adrenal cocktails with us, but he will when he's older.
Right.
They're not alcoholic, but there's still an age limit for me with those. But my son's actually favorite thing these days that is like so amazing and nutrient dense is I make pancakes, and there are 3 ingredients. Okay, bone marrow, eggs. Well, I guess there's 4 ingredients. Bone marrow, eggs, a little bit of mashed up kabocha squash, but you could do that with any sort of, you could do a banana, you could do whatever. And then salt and cinnamon. And he goes crazy for them. Pancakes, pancakes. And, he dips them in kefir. They're super yummy. And there's no sugar, there's no refined grain. They look and feel like pancakes. They're not going to be exactly like the IHOP pancakes, if that's what you're
Right.
comparing them to, but they're delicious and he loves them and they're super mineral rich. And so, yeah.
So great. So great. And I make smoothies in the morning, and I always tell people, ask me what's not in them, not what's in there, because there's
Mm,
everything in them, including bone broth. So like all of that, if you're like, well, how do I add this to something? Add it to a smoothie. I mean, mine has vegetables and fruits and all that stuff in it. But if they're in like a fruit stage or something, that's going to, yeah, I mean, it's not going to taste like beef broth,
totally.
you
One of
know?
my favorite things, speaking of like meat stock, is I make a meat stock, which is basically like bone broth, but a little bit different, more collagen rich. Um, a meat stock hot chocolate. It kind of tastes like when you dip your French fry in your milkshake, and it's like that's what it gives the vibe of, and it's so yummy. You just heat up some meat stock, and then you pour a little bit of whatever milk of choice, a little bit of salt and cacao in a blender. So divine. Yeah. So like drinking
Mushrooms
hot
do that
chocolate
too.
with it.
Mushrooms make it look like chocolate and it thickens it.
Cool.
Does it taste like chocolate? I'm not so sure it tastes like chocolate,
This one actually tastes like hot
but
chocolate. It's just like kind of salty hot chocolate. Like I don't know, but in a good way. So
sounds
yeah.
good. Sounds good. And like my base is always coconut water and coconut milk instead of just water or just milk. And that coconut water, you need like a cup of coffee in the afternoon, drink a coconut water, and you'll find out you'll feel the same burst of energy.
It's all that
So
potassium, baby.
thank you for all that, Stefanie. That was just so informative and so great and so much that people don't know. So reach out to Stefanie. Tell everyone one more time how they can reach out to you, please.
Yeah. And I can put it in the chat too. So you can either send me an email at stephanie@brightbeanhealth.com. Or if you are on Instagram, you can come say, hey, Stefanie Adler Wellness. And I love connecting with people. Like if something I said surprised you, if you have a strong opinion one way or the other about anything I said, just come say what's up and tell me about it and let's talk. That's the best part about this online community and world is like we have the ability to meet people all over the world. So come say hi.
Wonderful. Thank you, honey. I really appreciate you being here. Hope you
Thank
can
you.
stay on for longer. And if you can, hope you can rewatch and everything.
I will. Thank you, Celia.
Thank you for listening to the Pumped Up Parenting Podcast. If this episode was helpful to you, please share it with a friend and leave us a review that will help others. Wonder why kids don't come with a manual? Well, wonder no more, because I wrote you one, and it's just won a wonderful Mom's Choice Award. Go to celiasbooks.com and buy your copy of Raising Happy Toddlers, as well as my children's books. I appreciate you being part of my mission to help 10 million parents stop yelling at their kids. Please be intentional and hug on those kids of yours. See you at the next episode.